main phase.
Good evening to everybody in this lovely community. It's time for another one of my MAME streams, and in this one, which is part of the S for September theme, I am doing S for Seibu. Seibu, the famous makers of the Raiden series and a couple of other games like Battle Balls, and yeah, they've done a few things. Not as many as some of the other companies I've covered, but obviously some of the games they have done have been important, like the Raiden games, for example. So we'll be looking at quite a few of those, and some of the other things they've done too, and a couple of ports and other games by companies, other companies that are running on their hardware. So there's quite a few TAD things, because I think most TAD games, if not all, were on Seibu hardware. There's a few things Banpresto put out, and we'll have a look at some of the others. So that is the idea here. Is Seibu's name from save? I don't know, Bob. I know it wasn't always Seibu Kaihatsu, it was Seibu Denshi, I think, at first, the first two games, but I don't know where the Seibu part comes from. But yeah, so let me just have a look at who is here, as usual. We have Thomas in early, we have Aussie Guy, we have Mitchell, we have Carlo, we have the Ogre, we have Lo-Fi Kills, very early morning for Lo-Fi Kills, not even 5 AM yet. We have Bob, we have RO9, we have Mo Burma, we have Mick Makorak, we have Stephen Kuma, we have my partner Evie, who is saying good evening, and she will be listening along. That's always good to hear. And I think that's it for the early joiners. If anybody else is here and wants to say hi, feel free to say hi. But you say we have a nice community here. Everybody is really friendly, so excellent. Excellent. No, I'm not watching the Great British Bake Off myself, although maybe Evie's doing that. I don't know. She did say she'd be multitasking tonight. So Aussie Guy throwing in some facts to start with. Seibu Kaihatsu was first established as Seibu Denshi in 82, changed its name to Seibu Kaihatsu in 84, and they made some games for Sigma and Taito early on. Yeah, we'll be looking at a few of those. There was definitely a bit of a relationship with Sigma. There's a Mahjongg game. I don't think we'll be playing it, but we'll probably put the attract mode on. So yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the volume back up a little bit. That there should do the trick, I reckon. Then I'm going to change my view to a vertical one. And I'm going to full screen the game. The wife is watching the Bake Off, is she, Stephen? I don't mind. I do quite like watching the Bake Off from time to time, but it just makes me hungry, and I don't think that's a good idea right now. So Metal Freezer. We have played Metal Freezer on stream before, and it's kind of a spiritual sequel to Moustache Boy that we've also looked at on stream before. It's potentially an unreleased game, or released in very low quantities, and it's from 89, so visually a little bit behind the curve in 89. But we will coin it up and have a little play. You're doing Netflix and MAME. I don't think we need the tutorial. And I don't have my own Netflix show yet, unfortunately. Otherwise, you could be doing Netflix and Netflix. I don't think they're going to give me a show. Anyway, it's a colouring the tiles game, but now you can freeze things. So it's colouring tiles and reverse Pengo and Moustache Boy and everything in a blender. Making more tiles for me. But yeah, I do enjoy the odd, simple arcade game. You go through those tunnels to get power-ups. In that case, it was a freeze everything one. And there we go. I've coloured all the tiles, and on to the next world I go. Yeah, one thing about Seibu is the Seibu sound system, which was used in quite a lot of places, and I think used on the majority of their games until like the SPI stuff. So yeah, they're going to sound quite similar, especially if they've got the same composers, but they did like to use that hardware. And it's one of the things we'll talk about in the stream, because there are even cases where the Seibu sound system hardware turned up on games that otherwise don't seem to have much to do with Seibu. And of course some bootlegs too. Now it doesn't look like an 89 game, it doesn't especially play like an 89 game. Yes, we have a roulette bonus game. Which I fail on. Yeah, it could be an 89 Mega Drive game, couldn't it? I think if you put it into that kind of perspective, yeah, this could have easily been a console game in 89. Maybe the sprites are still a little small, but I think it could have survived there. Let's go to the A tunnel. Do have a little jump button, we don't need it. But there we go, cleared off that level. Well, obviously the presentation has seen a step up from something like Moustache Boy in terms of the animations that are going on. The complexity of the game has also seen a step up. So, you know, a lot of effort was clearly put into making this a better sequel. Even I say it's not officially a sequel, but you can kind of tell it's the same basic colour in the towers idea. You're just not jumping up at balloons. It's got a bit more of a spacey thing going on here. So you're firing up ice race. Oh, well, you are if you don't overheat. Or overcool, I don't know. Don't do that, that's silly. It is said that Pon Poko was Seibu's first game. I've not heard that one before. Aku... I think that one is on a Seibu hardware at least. So it could well be. I don't know about Pon Poko though. That nothing about that really screams Seibu at me, but you know, these things are possible. Once again, Aussie guy with some facts there. Let's go with our bonus roulette. Nope. Right. So. Little jump pad there. Get ourselves a key. Bad things sound like they're happening right now. Ignore bad things. Pretend everything is fine. Reach exit. I mean, Pon Poko wasn't on my list to play, and obviously there's no public dump of the other games, so I can't really do much about that one in terms of showing it off. But yeah, I might look at some of the actual earlier games that were credited to Seibu though. Stinger, for example, that is an early Seibu game, and things like Wiz that they did for Taito. We may also try and play Kung Fu Taikun and actually play the Japanese set that doesn't crash. I still think the English set of that might be a bad dump. I've not had time to investigate further yet though. But it's a very suspicious crash. You see, there are different elements being thrown in, like those teleporters, and that's kind of how the game progresses. It will gradually introduce new gameplay elements, keep things interesting, add a slight puzzle element to the whole thing. Now, one thing this does have in the corner at all times is that map, which is kind of handy. Evening Costado. You're opposed to games that try to make clean look cool, are you, Thomas? I do remember the one on the C64, which had you brushing teeth. That was one of the few cartridge games my friend had on the C64, and I did happen to wonder why it was on a cartridge. But I still don't know why. It seemed like a very simple game to have on a cartridge. Not any more impressive than anything I had on, say, the Spectrum. Also, it was a game without cleaning. And I don't think it was meant to be an educational game. Ooh, get sucked in there. Stop making more work for me. Oh, now you blow me up. There's an MSX port of Kung Fu Taikun. I didn't realise that. I do have a list of MSX ports, and that wasn't on there, was it, Guy? For some reason, that did not come up in my searches. I might have to add it to my list, and if it's on the MAME soft list, and have a little look at that then, because I was going to have a look at some of the MSX ports, because the MSX is one of the few places that some of the older Seibu games did get ported. So, interestingly, quite a lot of them avoided the other main platforms. And even later on, there weren't that many Seibu ports to other hardware, aside from Raiden. The SPI games didn't really get ported much, and it's unusual. There was a PlayStation port of Battle Balls, Senkyuuou, which we'll probably look at. But I guess that's another case of, everybody probably wanted a Raiden Fighters port, and they got Senkyuuou. Which isn't a bad game, but I wouldn't say it was, one of the things that people instantly think of with Seibu. Anyway, apparently we don't have a map now. We probably have to find it somewhere. Don't do that. So here we go. Here's teleportation. Moving platforms. There's the key. Can't get it yet though. I can get it here. Gone all mazy on me. Gotta get out of here. They have set us up the bomb or something. Oh, can't do that. Yeah, I know where I'm meant to go. Oh well, continue 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, until the 360 port, yeah. I mean, that's entirely different generation. The SNES Raiden is pretty bad. I have heard that. I've not played it, but I have heard it's pretty bad and missing a lot of features. And I think this is quite an easy game, Carlo. My deaths here are lack of concentration. This might also be one of the reasons this potentially didn't get released or failed location test. It might just be a bit too easy. Because I got, what, a good 10-15 minutes out playing that. So, hey cow! Yes, there are some cows watching my stream. As you may have noticed. They're down there in the corner if you haven't noticed. I think everybody's probably noticed the cows. Sneaking into the corner of my graphics. Very nice they are too. I think they're having a good day in those fields. Right, so, okay, let's completely go off the track I was going to go on. And apparently, if it's here, which it is, there are quite a few sets of it. Right, as Aussie Guy mentions, Kung Fu Taikun got an MSX port. So let's have a look and see if it works. Okay, nice and colourful. Still credited to Seibu. It's quite fast. This feels faster than the arcade. I don't know what the buttons are. Knock on that door. Oh, it's got the. At least it's not got the Mahjongg tiles on this version. See that? There we go. I'm flashing. That means I can get the. It's still bonus time. Okay. Bonus time lasts a while. But there was a cherry down the bottom, wasn't there? Let's get back down to the bottom. The bomb is always in the same place. Okay, the strawberry's there. It's there. No one is there. So yeah, the game is really just pairs, but platform based. It's the same gameplay as the Oh dear, what I got. Same gameplay as the arcade version, so it is a port as opposed to any kind of different take on the game. But up is jump, and down is open door, which gets really quite confusing. I'm trying to press the button to jump, and obviously failing. There's a key there. Where was the other key? There was a key there. Okay. The key here. So the strawberry was there. Where was the other strawberry? Was the other strawberry? No, that's not strawberry. It doesn't seem to have the fire breathing thing that kills me behind the door. Although I'm still just running into enemies and killing myself. Despite having really similar video hardware as the ColecoVision, the Japanese MSX titles have their own distinctive look. Yeah, you do. I mean, you get that on all the systems, really, don't you? UK titles look different to European titles. Japanese titles look different to the others too. This is quite tricky when you're not used to the controls. And you're trying to press up to... Got a pair. I get the bonus time, which is a bit pointless. You can't look through the door, look in the doors in the bonus time, unfortunately, so I can't work out where the pieces are. Hey, yo, guys, Soul. I'm doing pretty well. I hope you are too. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have to look at the other MSX ports during the stream because it's kind of it's kind of a talking point, isn't it? Oh, that's the bomb. That's not a good thing. Don't want to use the platform. There we go. Strawberries in the bottom left. Got door opened on me. What was that? No, that was there, yes. That's there. So yeah, you have to match all the pairs, then it should move on to another round. That's there, so this is back down the bottom. I think. That gives me bonus time again. Not many doors left, so it shouldn't be too hard now. You can tell if the door's being used or not based on if there's a light behind it or not, so I've cleared off the bottom row already. It does look like I'm playing like the Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. Yes, I did kind of feel that myself. I think it's the white head, isn't it? So that's not what I want. So that's a... Oh, door spawned. I mean, you do get a slight bit of warning, but still. Door spawning is mean. There we go. So now I can go this way? Yeah. Little slot machine bonus. It's the Marshmallow Man's cousin who knows Kung Fu. Yeah, it's not a very Kung Fu game. If you see Kung Fu in the title, you don't really expect a puzzle matching game. Okay, so I've got another round of this at least. I don't know if the bonus stage will be in this version. I'm also probably not going to make it through this stage, to be honest. One door. Nope. So, yeah, I'm gonna probably quit this one now. I'm gonna kill myself off. You get the idea. It's an MSX port that I wasn't aware of until Aussie Guy mentioned it. So, there you go. Don't know if we'll still look at the arcade version of this, but... Kung Fu Taikun. A Seibu game, one of the early Seibu games, and one that got a port to the MSX, like a couple of the others did. I think 3, I counted those ones, that at least I could find, got MSX ports. But yeah. Right, so, a new one for me. Oh look, he even has another brother on the other side. No, it's an odd game, Carlo. I mean... I don't know why. Again, I don't know why you combine tile matching with platforming, but that's what they did. It's unique. I don't know if that makes it good, but it's definitely unique. I can say that much for it. So, where shall we go next? Yeah, let's go with Gang Hunters. Simplistic charm. It does kind of have that. The controls are a bit annoying on that MSX version, but I suppose you get used to them. Kimpo and Chen are descendants. Kimpo and Chan are descendants to Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Right, yes, possibly. They did look like it, didn't they, Aussie Guy? They did look like it. And so this one, Gang Hunter, is also known as Dead Angle and Lead Angle. So I don't know which region this. I think Gang Hunters might have been either the European release or the full-size dedicated cabinet release, because one thing that is notable in this version is it does have a trackball or joystick dip switch. Now, the trackball mode doesn't actually work in MAME. I don't think it ever has. If you coin it up, you get no controls. It'll move to the top corner, and you can't use it. It doesn't work properly. So you do have to set it to joystick in order to play it. The other sets are joystick only. Also, setting it to joystick changes the game name to. So the trackball joystick, yeah. So it's only Gang Hunter when it's set to trackball. It becomes Dead Angle again when you set it to joystick. So there you go. There you go. That's why both names are in there. And apparently it's a Spanish set, so I don't know. But yeah, there you go. So we can't play it with the Gang Hunter title, unfortunately, because that requires the trackball to be emulated. And the trackball isn't emulated, so we can't play it. There's another switch there. But we can play it in joystick mode. So yeah, I think the dedicated cabinet must have been the one with the Gang Hunter name or something like that, which is why when you set it to trackball, it expects you to it changes the title. I'm surprised nobody has hooked up the trackball. I can't imagine it's impossible to get it working. But yeah, it's a probation crosshair shooter. Locate the enemies, take them out. There's one down there. Before they take you out. You've got your different types of attacks. Telling me where power-ups and enemies are. Quite a tricky game, I have to say. You are against a clock, and obviously your health depletes pretty quickly if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe with the trackball it'd be easier because you'd have to move around more quickly. One enemy left. Agent Rex Banner, out to stop the bootleggers. Yeah, the enemies are definitely terrified of this yellow spirit, which can bleed. Look at the holes in me. Oh, well, now I've got too many holes in me and I died. So they must have ghost weapons. This is like boss guy, isn't it? was. So this is another one of the games that did actually get a port. It got a port to the Sega Master System. A very bad port, really, considering. The Master System should have done a lot better with this one. But we'll come to that one later, maybe. I might have played the Master System version on stream before. I can't actually remember. If I have, I'm sure you will remember seeing it, because it's got some of the worst scrolling in a Master System game ever. As opposed to this version that's nice and smooth. Ooh, nope. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, the TAD did things like Cabal and Bloodbusters on Seibu hardware, which are crosshair shooters, and then Seibu have got this crosshair shooter of their own. So I don't know if TAD played a role in developing this, or if Seibu just, you know, went with, oh, you know, TAD made some crosshair shooters for us, we'll do the similar, but make it scroll. Or if it's just coincidental that now where's the boss guy going to come from? Here we go. Well, yeah, let's continue the game. There was a game called Probation on the C64 Amstrad, but I don't think I'd class it as a port, Carlo. It's unofficial at best. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's probably an easy thing to hook up, just nobody's ever bothered. Unless it's broken completely and the game never worked in that mode, but that's somewhat unlikely. I mean, my gut instinct would be to say, if it's Seibu hardware, maybe it's got similar components to the trackball versions of Cabal. I think they're hooked up. There's probably some common component it uses for the trackball ADC. Counts as a cow port. I didn't say that, did I? Yeah, there's loads of little things to hook up and MAME, loads of tiny improvements you can make all over the place. I mean, I saw your pull request to add the dip switches to Taobot. And again, that's a nice little fix. There's plenty of games where there are dip switches that haven't been fully figured out. There's plenty of cases where the dip switches just should be set as unused if the 100% confirmed in the code is unused too. But now a lot of games didn't have dip switch manuals, and we can only really guess or study the code. And not everybody wants to sit down and study all the code. It's not always clear anyway. You know, you can find where something gets put in RAM, but working out if it was meant to be difficulty, you know, it's not always easy to figure out. Things will just be put in RAM and used to look up tables, and then you've still got to work out what those tables are. And you never like these games where the character's an outline is on top. So I mean, it's kind of Punch-Out style, isn't it? But a bit different. Cross Swords is another. But yeah, it does make it difficult to know where your weak spots are. I mean, does any shot hurt you? Does any grenade hurt you? It's not like the ones where you've got a clear character at the bottom of the screen, say Cabal, where you dodge out the way of bullets. Here it's a case of what I'm actually avoiding. So I get what you mean. It's maybe not the best way to do things. And Punch-Out, yeah, of course, Punch-Out. Yeah, I think Punch-Out would probably be the first one to do it. Although there's a Taito ping pong game, Ping Pong King. I don't know if that's before Punch-Out. Probably not before Punch-Out. Anyway, yeah, Gang Hunter slash Dead Angle. Like I said, if you change it to trackball, you get the Gang Hunter title on the set. If you leave it as joystick, you get the Dead Angle title. Anyway, maybe somebody can hook that up. I did mention there was a Master System port of this, which we can look at briefly, very briefly. Yeah, the Seibu Cup Soccer protection is nasty. We won't be looking at that one. So here, Dead Angle for the Master System, reprogrammed by Sega themselves, apparently. Presentation so far pretty good, you know. Done a good job of the intro screen here. But then, this is how it moves. It goes from, okay, well presented, to, how on earth is this a first party Sega game? It literally scrolls in blocks and everything animates apart from your cursor at super slow speed. I mean, why not port it to the Mega Drive? Why do a Master System port when the Master System clearly can't handle it, or at least not with this code? No, it's very, very laggy, this. Everything apart from the cursor just is laggy. It's still somewhat playable, but... I mean, Sega did a good job of this Strider and Ghouls and Ghosts ports for the Mega Drive, but not this one. And it's a shame, because Sega also, you know, managed to put out good arcade-inspired versions of games on the Master System that weren't direct ports. You had things like Air Rescue that wasn't an exact port, but was still good. But then they did this one for Seibu and really made a mess of it. I don't think it even uses the light gun if you've got one. So 12 enemies remain. Somewhere. I do want to try and complete a level. Doesn't seem to have the helpful arrow to tell you where to look either. One left. You've got a boss, yeah. It's got that. Is it reproduced the sequence as well? It's got the whole go down to the bottom corner automatically for the boss, just like the arcade. The Master System could have done so much better than this. Don't stand in front of the enemy. Well, I kind of know that. Again, nice preview picture for the level. Again, there's not quite the variety of enemies, and the speed is always like this, so you get bored of this one quite quickly, I'm afraid. But still, if you've had a Master System, maybe you've played that, maybe you enjoyed it, but if you have access to the arcade game, it's one of those where there is very little reason you would want to play that one, unfortunately. So, yeah. Let's move on to something that runs on Seibu hardware that was done by Banpresto. This one is SD Gundam Psycho Salamander no Kyoui. I don't know how I said that last word. But there we go. So one of two Gundam shooting games, sort of platformy shooting games on Seibu hardware. I think this is the earlier of the two. This one doesn't have any noteworthy protection, as the later one did. Nailed it. Yes, I absolutely must have nailed it, Pop. The SMS was released in the same year as the Amiga. I mean, the SMS was an evolution of the SG-1000 and stuff, but yeah. So we've got a nice little intro by Banpresto Bandai. And it's a walk-along shooter. You don't get to choose your stage on this one. The stage order is fixed. I mean, the Master System can still do things the Amiga can't do easily, because it's got the hardware, you know, it's got hardware tile maps. So, you know, the Amiga can also do things the Master System can't do easily. The Mega Drive can do a lot of things that the Amiga can't possibly do. It's very difficult to compare tile mapping sprite-based systems like for like with really what were more business computers like the Amiga, which did have stuff for gaming, but not really optimised for it. So you've got double jump, and you've got your fire button. You don't seem to have much else in terms of controls here. Short range attack is automatic if things get close to you. Yeah, there's some nice parallax scrolling going here, multi-layered scrolling. You've got the enemies in the background as well, which is a nice touch. Got a little lift. But yeah, it's an auto-scrolling shooter really. You can't shoot while ducked, interestingly. Or annoyingly maybe, I'm not sure. And you can't shoot at angles, so you can only shoot forward. You can't double jump with this. So it's quite limited in controls. Yeah, if the Amiga ran better in MAME, I'd probably do a lot more Amiga games. So it did have some really good ones, but unless I'm going to, you know, get out WinUAE or something like that and say this is not a mainstream, I can't really cover Amiga because I think MAME runs about 2% of the library at best and runs those badly. So yeah, there's a NES Famicom port of Empire City. That one was on my list already as a guy that I might look at. There's also an MSX port of that too, isn't there? And MSX ports of Wiz. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't quite have the ability to shoot, and so you can't shoot downwards. You can only shoot horizontally. So your ability to target things is very limited in this, which is probably its weakest point. So it's not got like the diagonal firing like Contra or anything else. You've just got to dodge things if you can't shoot them in your direct line of sight. But yeah, some nice graphics here. We can have another slot machine bonus. I probably get 1,000 points. Wow. The hardware is quite complex, and the software abuses the hardware greatly. So you know you've got to get everything right. And you've got like the copper, which runs in time sync with the display, and they do tricks with it, and it's not very powerful on its own, but you can pull off some nice screen timing based tricks. I mean, the sprite hardware on the Amiga is kind of useless, but again, if you combine it with screen tricks, copper tricks to change the sprite to the smooth screen, you can get some nice repeating backgrounds, and you know all the game developers used all these tricks. And yeah. The copy protectionists tend to abuse timings as well, because piracy was a big thing on the Amiga, so they wanted to try and do everything they could to stop people following the code and making sense of it and, you know, decompiling it and running it, cracking it. So you get lots of really complex pieces of code for protection that rely on everything working too, and if anything is off, they fail. And yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. Obviously in this one you've got full directional movement, full 8 directional movement, because it's underwater shoot 'em up stage at this point. Which is actually a bit better than the regular game, because you can actually move out the way of things more easily. It could have done with the secondary attack button, I think. You know, a bomb attack or something like that, which it doesn't have. Also, this is another case of enemies got far too much health. Nice that it's got the little shield up. That wasn't even the boss, that was just a mid-boss. Soul developed this for Banpresto. Yeah, it runs on Seibu hardware though. I've not heard anything about Soul, but say this is Seibu hardware, so you know you can cover it here. Is Soul credited on the later game? We'll play until we lose this set of lives, and then we'll have a look at the other Gundam game before we start to move on to some of the more famous Seibu shooters, I think. There's no charge shot either, so yeah, in terms of gameplay mechanics, this is very, very simple. No charge shot, no bomb shot, no directional firing, just different types of weapons and platforming, and in this case, more traditional shooting. And this is one of those big bosses that's just a big battleship, isn't it? Lots of segments you can destroy. There's lots of games with this type of boss, with this kind of stage design. Knocking parts off a larger enemy. It's a shame some of the better Amiga games didn't get arcade ports. Something like Uridium 2 on the Amiga would have made for a really good arcade game. Say the Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasy Series, Walker, things like that. I think we could have done really good arcade games out of them, but they didn't. Okay, we're attacking the fin now. So there we go. Swing that whip, Simon Gunmont. Oh, look, another slot machine thing again. I get the shield back. Yes, no? No. I guess that means I don't want it. I don't know. But, what we got here? Another walk along level. Oh, we've got ice. Do we have ice physics? No, not really. Yeah. Let's jump down a hole and yeah. Soul is known for the two Flintstones games on the NES, Famicom for Taito, and co-developed the NES Famicom Snow Brothers with Toplan. Okay. Taito did the Mega Drive Flintstones game instead, didn't they? Don't know. Were they involved in that? Because that's one of those odd games that's only on the Mega Drive, despite being Taito. What's the set name here? think it's GD8. That's it. Okay. So this one is the second of the Gundam games. This one is SD Gundam Sangokushi Rainbow Tairiku Senki. And this one runs on the more heavily protected hardware. I noticed that the chat is entirely missing on the stream, isn't it? Hold on, where's my stream chat? Where is my stream chat? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. It is not going to work. For some reason my stream chat is broken today. I think that must be Streamlabs. That must be Streamlabs, I'm afraid, because it's all set up. It's everything is linked. The URL's right. It's just not displaying it. So anyway, the second of the Gundam games. Now this one is more Contra-like. This one lets you shoot in multiple directions. You know, you can shoot down when you're jumping, and you know, is a much more polished game, I have to say. It's also one of those games where, say, pretty much everything is protected. The bullet trajectory is all protected. The enemy sprite handling is all protected. Yeah, basically, it's not as heavily protected as Seibu Cup Soccer, but it's close. It is really close. And it's taken a long time to get it right. Just even the bosses that have got multiple parts to them, the different parts are controlled by the protection, so with it wrong, the epic parts don't line up properly and things like that. I've got the wrong weapon for this boss, unfortunately. Oh, went too close. Don't go that close. Oh, this'll do. Far better. See, that's the weapon you want, the homing missile. The exam. Hey Rockman, hope you're doing well, good to see you. And yeah, it's been a while since we had a chat, so we didn't decide what to do with that refunded money on the cartridge, did we? The juice box thing. But yeah, say if you ever want to message me on Twitter, I'm always free to chat, but good to see you in here. Whiteboard Santos did Flintstones Taito, did they? Okay. Again, that's a bit of an unusual one. I think I need to play that at some point. Properly, that Flintstones game. Yeah, good to see you, Rockman. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, I decided to play a little bit of a Gundam game. I think you like your Gundam stuff, don't you, from memory? So we had a look at the earlier Gundam game on Seibu hardware, and now we're looking at this one, which, as I say, is altogether a much better experience. And if you like Contra this year, you'll probably like this one. The chat finally showed up, did it? When I'm not doing anything, the chat decides to show up. I love all these online services that are all tied together in ways that never quite work as they should. It makes you have so much confidence in them. You've been gone a while. What have you been up to? Been up to anything fun? Bob is a mod, and yeah, I made an Aussie Guy mod on the last stream so that they could post some YouTube link. Or, no, it was a Nico link, wasn't it? But I still need to check out, actually. So things like those, the animation on the hand there, that's all done by a bit of protection. These lasers coming down, they're all protection. Oh, I shouldn't have just stand there. Learn the patterns, don't stand there. Even the screen brightness controls are all protection. You remember games, stores full of bootleg games where characters have been swapped with Mario? Yeah, that happened. That happened, Wolfaz. This was developed by EIM for Banpresto. Did EIM do anything else of note? This type of game? So it seems like Banpresto like getting other developers to do their games at this point. Now this is playable until the end if you want to these days. Doesn't really mix it up much. I mean, you get the idea of what it is already. Yeah, you can't bounce on enemies like that, unfortunately. I forgot. Bootleg Games Wiki has a nice page on all the Mario graphics hacks. Yeah, that Bootleg Games Wiki is actually a really useful resource. Got lots of good stuff on there. I'm sure you've been looking at it a lot lately, Bob, with all the NES bootleg and unlicensed game work you've been doing. If you don't learn the enemy attack patterns, you will die repeatedly. General gaming rule. You're adding this one to the list of games to try and make it looks good. Yeah, it's much better than the previous Gundam game that I looked at. This one is a solid Contra style shooter. Oh yeah, collisions are done with the protection too, as far as I know. Just to add to the list, so yeah, there might be some imperfections in the emulation, because we know that the Seibu protection emulation isn't perfect for other games, but it appears to hold up for this game. Oh, you can just hold the fire button for this weapon. I forget that. That makes it a bit easier. Doesn't stop me hammering on the keyboard quite so much. I mean, not everything on there is 100% accurate, because documenting this bootleg stuff is a nightmare in the first place, because a lot of the time the developers try to hide things, and bootleggers bootleg bootlegs, and people took credit for things that weren't theirs, which is what bootleggers do. Underwater boss. It's this guy again. But, I think the time is done with protection and the score as well, because it uses the BCD maths, the BCD conversion. Just trying to think of things that aren't done with the protection in this game. Second boss mode. The arm movement there is done with protection, the sine, cosine, angle stuff. Kyoui worked pretty hard on getting this one working, to be fair. You talk about Raiden 2 being the really protected Seibu shooter, Seibu hardware shooter, but this one has more protection used than Raiden 2. There's a Psycho Gundam Mark II. Oh, that's a Psycho Gundam Mark II. Ah. I thought you were telling me there's a sequel. So this is your cave level. Again, nice use of multiple graphic layers. I do like it when the enemies and yourself go behind things, as long as it doesn't obscure what's going on. And it doesn't really here. There's your elevator section. Did I include this on the elevator stream? I wanted to. It was on my list, I can't remember if I did. We'll play a little with this. We'll play until this credit runs out. And then we'll have a look at yeah, some shooters, I think. Some actual Seibu shooters. That's one way to use up my credit. This always reminds me of the boss in Sonic 2. You know, the rock driller one in Sonic 2. Mystic Cave Zone. Again, all the angle and movement of this and the sprite parts are done with the protection. You know, it used to just really mess up on this boss, and sometimes the boss would just go off the screen and you won't be able to complete the level. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is definitely one to play on a cab, Stephen, I'd say. Simple controls, good shooting action, and after you complete the first 3 stages, it's got a few stages in fixed order. So you can do the first 3 in any order you want. I think by the time the 10-in-1s came out, the ROMs were cheap enough to do it. You got to remember, a lot of those bootleg multi-games came out a few years after the game, and prices were falling quickly. Often they just bootleg the smaller games. They're going deeper underground. Oh no, that's a different game. Different movie. Oh well, continue, we will not. Yeah, 24K early games, as Bob said. They never bootleg the big fancy ones, or the ones that required complex mappers. But yeah, that's a fun little one. And there's a Korean set of that has a few minor bits translated to English, but it doesn't really make much difference. Right. Let's talk about Viper Phase 1. Now, Viper Phase 1 came in 2 versions, a new version and an original old version. It changes how the power-up system works. But one thing I find really curious is that there's a specific set, which I'm just going to show you the flash screen for, because the games flash the ROM on startup. They copy the sound data onto the motherboard as part of the protection chip, and probably to give it a more direct access for the sound chip. But there's a Switzerland set, which was for in Switzerland, which is the new version of Viper Phase 1, which as far as we know came after the old version. But the update screen has this text. It has updating spelled with an E. This is the only set that has updating spelled with an E. And it's the new version. If we look at an old version, for example, this one, no, we can't do it with the Japanese one. Sorry. The Japanese one is in Japanese. We'll have to find a different set to do it with. One that I haven't already flashed. Hold on. Probably that one. This is where I changed the spelling to an incorrect one and then changed it back again later. I don't really know, because the other new versions all have it correct as well. It's just that that single code version that has the region set to Switzerland has that spelling error, which doesn't really make much sense. We don't know why. I'm sure there's a story behind it. I mean, it's not a case of it being regionalised in Switzerland and localised in Switzerland and them changing it there, because the region is just a byte. A lot of the sets are the same. But yeah, an odd one for sure. But let's actually play Viper Phase 1. I will load up the new version, the new US version, I think. I have crashed. Which part of me has crashed? Which part of me has crashed? Isn't the 386 kind of overkill? I mean, it spends a lot of the time idle, but at the same time, these games do push a lot of sprites around the screen. So, I think it's suitable for what they were trying to do. I was gone for like 20-30 seconds. Oh dear. You mean me or the camera or everything? I have uncrashed. You see, I've not got a crash this end, and I'm not reporting any drop frames this end. So I am a little confused. I don't know what people have missed, but the whole stream crashed. Interesting. I'll have to see if Google's got the whole thing, YouTube's got the whole thing, or if the part where I talked about the updating text being wrong on the Swiss version is missing. Why did no others use 386? I mean, there are PC-based games. I'm sure there's other things using similar x86 hardware. I mean, you've got to remember that there are quite a lot of arcade games that use things like the V20 and V30 that weren't that far off x86 hardware. Just, you know, not quite the same. But yeah, it's probably expensive in '95. Alright, so hopefully it won't happen again. Probably a YouTube problem, because I didn't see any dropouts my end. So yeah, we got a nice little shooter. Now, this never really took off or got the popularity in the same way that the Raiden games did, which is a shame, because I actually think that this deserved sequels as much as Raiden did. But obviously Raiden was based on an earlier game, whereas this was a new IP on the SPI. Now this is the new version, so when you pick up the weapons, you keep them. The old version has got a timer type thing, a limited use on the weapons, which is one thing that Seibu obviously must have got feedback from players saying they didn't like. Because the new version here does away with that timer on the weapons, you know, the number of uses. So it makes it more like a traditional game rather than if you've got your power up now, you've got to decide when you're going to use it. It's, I mean, I would say in terms of hardware use, I wouldn't say it's budget, I would say that they evolved, they moved on from using the V30, V33 up to using the x86, the 386, you know, in a similar way to companies moving from a, you know, a 68K to a 68040 and things like that. It's a logical step if you've used that hardware in the past, I would say. Let's get the green bomby napalm stuff. But even, you know, even games like Kyoui used x86 type, you know, old, that type of CPU. And Seibu here probably just wanted something nice and powerful, because they knew they were going to be throwing lots of sprites around. They wanted something that wasn't going to slow down. So why not? Now there are still some missing blending effects on the SPI hardware. I think this is meant to be blended here. I can't remember if this is one of the cases. But MAME currently hard codes the tables of what to blend and what not to blend, because we can't find what indicates if tile is meant to be blended or not. There don't seem to be any bits that are undercoded in the graphics ROM. There don't seem to be any extra bits in the palette right. There doesn't seem to be any table that uploads anywhere for which sprites are transparent and which aren't, you know. And it applies to sprites and layers as far as I know. So it's a bit of a mystery. We don't quite understand a few elements of this hardware still. So there are a few things that should be blended that might not be. Raiden 2 hardware is the same. It's kind of, I think, hard-coded still what gets blended and what doesn't in MAME. So yeah, Seibu still have some mysteries after all this time. Yeah, Raiden's predecessor is Air Raid Cross Shooter, which has those horrible modules on. As the guy mentions, that's the prequel. It doesn't really play much like Raiden Raiden, but you can see that in it. I have played that on stream before without any of the graphics. Unfortunately, we're still no closer to actually extracting anything from those modules. Maybe one day. Same for Pop and Run. That uses them too. And some versions of Street Fighter have modules too, but they're less complex modules. But I like the explosions in this. I like when these big ships go boom. It's a very satisfying game to play. And yeah, it just doesn't get talked about as much. I don't know much about the details of the scoring mechanics, the medal systems, or anything else in this one. I've not really studied the Seibu games in that kind of detail like I have some of the Cave games. I think it's a shame that for some of them there aren't more detailed cheats in MAME, especially, say, Raiden Fighter's Jet, where there's lots of conditional unlocks on stages. I would have thought the MAME cheats might have things to, always unlock stages, always make progress to the stage, but they don't. This one I don't think's got that level of complexity in the first place, but who knows. Yeah, blending is alpha transparency effect, Carlo. But yeah, this is a good, solid shooter. And I can't really fault anything with it. It sounds good, it looks good, it plays smooth, it's responsive, satisfying explosions, great transitions there. You see the way the boss was introduced. Everything slid open as you'd expect it to. Easy to see bullets. The only thing that is bad here is my ability to play it. Anyway. Yeah, Nebulous Ray goes for that pre-rendered look a bit more, very heavily, whereas I like the art here better, even though it's less fancy in terms of effects. Look at the way the fire's building up on the enemy here as well. I say less fancy, there's lots of little touches, and that's kind of where this one shines. Where Nebulous Ray is quite in your face, there's so many little details here. Look at the little bits of debris. As things fall away from your thrusters as you move up there. All these little touches. I mean, Raiden 2 had some things like that, but the attention to detail with this one is really, really good. I think that's one of the appealing things. It's not debris that, gets in the way, stops you seeing what's going on, like some shooters. I mean, we had to look at that Last Hope on the Neo Geo, and the debris was deadly and blocked your view of everything. Here, the debris is just pretty, but doesn't stop you seeing anything. Visually, this is, I think, one of the strongest shooters I've played. I'll put this up there with something like Psycho Strikers 1945 too, in terms of my opinion on the visual presentation of it. Yeah, it doesn't have the complexity of gameplay of Alpha Mission 2 DJ Dance Classics, but yeah, I can see that too. It does have some of that. Some nice parallax here. Look at the different layers on this ship in the background. Don't look too long though, because you do what I just did and crash into the bullets. Now, after I lose this life, I will briefly put the old version on, which every time I've played this game, I think on stream, I've put the old version on as well, just to compare. Bomb. Very, very, very Seibu type bomb. That. Now you do only have the 2 ships as far as I know, so it's not got a huge selection like the Raiden Fighters games. It is much more traditional in that sense. I think Raiden Fighters throws so many ships at you, you're never sure which one to use or which one's best. I don't know. Oh, that was stupid. Anyway, you can see, if I pick up a power up, I can use my weapon for as long as I want. And that's what you'll see different, different when we put the old version on. Yeah, this is absolutely, if you've got a vertical cab, you absolutely want Viper Phase 1 on it, Stephen. It is one of the best shooters, vertical shooters, if you ask me. But the old version then. Which set shall we use? There aren't as many old version sets jumped. Let's rename that back again. Oh. Hold on, I'm just messing with the flash files on this one because I had to rename them to demonstrate that typo in the Swiss flash thing. And obviously I try and keep the flash files. Oh, wrong set. I try and keep the flash files ready so that I can stream these at will. Right. Raiden 3 before Raiden. I've never really played Raiden 3 or 09. Reminds me of Dio. I wouldn't say that personally, but I think that's because Dio's standout feature is the 6-button stuff. Lord BBH was playing Dio last night, one credit clearing it, and managed to crash the game once, at least once, because Dio is quite a buggy game at times. Yes, Seibu did defeat the pirates with those air raid modules, and still defeating us. I think it's because they've actually got Seibu customs and ROMs and P-ROMs in for the lookups. They're really a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, this is Viper Phase 1. This is the older version of the game, I believe. And I'm not going to play this for too long. I'm just going to demonstrate the obvious difference, which is the power-up system, which clearly can't have been too popular because they changed it. Maybe they were trying to be too clever and just realised they had a better game if they took it out. So that's a regular power up. That just powers up my shot. Yep, that's good. But it's not good if I do that. Why I'm trying to collect the power up. Right, this sounds right. Oh, so you see, as soon as I got the... That wasn't very good. As soon as I got the power up, I get that bar up there. And as I use the power, the bar decreases. So you don't get to keep the power-ups for very long. The power-ups are basically temporary. See, the bar's decreasing as I'm using it. And as soon as the bar's decreased, you know, I'm on no power-up anymore. Get this green power-up, same thing. The more I use it, the more the bar decreases. So you're actually spending most of the time on this game with the regular shot, because those bars decrease really, really quickly. So it just makes you not... You don't really get to enjoy the power-ups because you don't have them for long enough. You know, you get them and within 10 seconds you've used up your power. So now, rather than blasting what's on the screen, I'm having to just sort of save the power so that when I can shoot the boss, I've got the power up. I mean, none of it not got it for very long. I'm not good at it if I die. I mean, maybe it's more powerful, I don't know. But yeah, this mechanic just gets in the way of trying to enjoy the game, and I can see why it got taken out. Look, I mean, yeah, I've used up my wide shot before the level's even started. But yeah, that's the old version, which, if you fancy more of a challenge, maybe, but I think the new version was an improvement there. Even if it took away what was maybe a unique mechanic, the mechanic didn't work as far as the game is concerned. At least that is my feeling on it. Right, let's go. We've said we'll look at some tab games as well, didn't I? Let's look at the famous one. Now, Cabal. Cabal came in both joystick and trackball versions. The trackball version, you use the trackball to do the roll. Yes, if maybe even more so the pop and run modules, because that's a much rarer game. I mean, Air Raid and Cross Shooter are still easy enough to come by, so you can buy them up and experiment on them and hope for the best. Pop and run, we've only ever seen 2 boards of it, so if those go bad, then yeah, that's a problem. So this is a TAD game, but it does run on Seibu hardware. It's got, you know, lots of Seibu customs on it, so I said anything that runs on Seibu hardware we will have a look at. It's eligible for the stream. And this is one of those really popular games. This one got a bunch of home ports. In fact, this got a lot of ports. There's a good video on the ports. Some of them are better than others. I don't think I'll be looking at ports of this one today. But yeah, it's clear out the enemies, destroy everything on the screen if you want to. Lots of things take damage, so I've been destroying buildings back there. Yes. And this has got I think this is one of the early examples of one of the Seibu sound system games. And the interesting thing with those is things like the coins are read through the sound CPU. The main CPU still reads all the game controls, but I guess as a form of extra protection, they read the coins through the sound CPU and pass it to the main CPU. And in really old versions of MAME that let you disable the sound CPU emulation, that of course meant you couldn't coin them up without using the service coin. And I did notice when looking through the drivers for some of these, I think it was the D-Cono driver, there's still a comment in the driver about if you run MAME without sound the coins won't work, which probably hasn't been the case for almost 20 years, but sometimes these comments do just get left lying there. Because these days, even if you disable the sound, MAME will emulate all the CPUs, it just turns off the sound output. Cabal was released in Japan by Taito for TAD. They're still on Seibu hardware though. But yeah, this type of game. So I was been looking for earlier examples of this type of game, and I think I found a few that were earlier. Quite early. I think Wanted, not the Sega game. Is it Sigma? That's an early example of this type of genre, where you've got a character moving around and a crosshair. But yeah, this is kind of the famous one though. This is the one that lots of people remember. This and Blood Brothers, which was the sequel. Again, I think there's people remember this one though because it got so many home ports. Lots of people grew up this one on their home computers. But it's a nice, simple way of doing gameplay. And it's... I don't know, I prefer it over a light gun shooter. I mean, you play Operation Wolf, which has got similar themes, you know, army camps and the like. But this one, you have, you know, you can see where your character is. You know what you're avoiding. On, you know, a light gun shooter, it's just like the shots. You don't really know what counts as hitting you and what doesn't. Same with the ones like Gang Hunter Dead Angle that we looked at earlier. You're never really sure what was hitting you and what wasn't. This, you know what's hit you. There's a bullet. Your character runs into it, you've hit it. You've been hit. It's still very similar in design. Look at the bar at the bottom looks very similar. You're still taking out a certain number of enemies per level, which is kind of why I wonder if TAD had some sort of role in Dead Angle 2. Or if Seibu just liked it so much they went, oh, we like that, let's do that. But make it scroll. Oh, you got your grenades too that I'm not using, but there we go. You think Nam 75 is a much better game? Nam's similar, but I like the non-scrolling nature of this. I like the way you can destroy other backgrounds. Nam doesn't really have that so much. I mean, Nam's a good game, but I personally think this is probably the more enjoyable of those two. I don't know. Visually, of course, Nam is much more impressive, but this plays well. The Raiden Legacy Collection on Steam is beyond awful. Is that the really bad .mu one that basically is a really awful hacked up version of MAME? Where they've kind of broken how MAME works in every way to try and get it to run at 60 Hz and other rubbish. And no, they didn't use a main version they had permission to use either, if that's the one. They just stole the code. Which is why I will not buy any other .mu products, even if they're doing maybe some okay stuff now. I blacklisted them a long time ago. Just hide in the corner there. That wasn't very good. Everybody dies in an instant. And we do get a boss. There you go. So this does have bosses, as you can see. We are now at a boss. So I think, is it every 2 levels you get a boss? Well, the boss has now beaten me. But you get the idea. It's a crosshair shooter where you also control the character. Yeah, there are a lot of bootleggers of Cabal around, possibly because it was just such a popular game, everybody wanted to bootleg it too. Possibly one of the reasons Seibu stepped up their protection later. I mean, Raiden was bootlegged heavily too. And yeah, they either reversed the coin protection or just, you know, copied it. I mean, we might talk about the NMK bootlegs that copied the Seibu sound system. So the Seibu sound system did get decrypted and cloned, because some of the Seibu sound systems do use an encrypted Z80, but Z80 program. But again, they must have worked out how to decrypt it, and therefore bootleg it. We kind of take for granted that they're decrypted at this point. So yeah. I'm going to look at a shooter that is kind of an oddity. This is not by Seibu or credited to TAD. This is Sky Smasher that is credited to Nihon System. It runs on Blood Brothers hardware. Yeah, there was Wild Arms, I think, Carlo, that's very much like Cabal. Now, I played this one on stream before as well, and it's credited to Nihon System. But this colour fade effect, the fade to grey, fade to colour, is exactly the same effect that TAD's Blood Brothers uses. So clearly this is using a similar code base to TAD's Blood Brothers, at least for these special effects. It's a very generic, average shooter. Nothing particularly wrong with it, but kind of an uninspiring one. But we'll have a little look at it briefly. No autofile on this one. Keyboard mashing it is. Bob's found a site that claims Seibu was named after a baseball team. I've never heard that before. So yeah, blast the waves of enemies. Some of them bigger. I don't think this game can credit itself with being the first game to do anything in particular. It's just one of those shooters that if you saw in an arcade you might play. Kind of all by the numbers stuff, best I can tell. Had it come out many, many years earlier, it might be remembered by people as being a great game, but far too late to the market for a game that doesn't really do anything special. Have I crashed again? I hope not. Fine there. Yeah, it's probably YouTube playing up for some people then. Some of their servers are probably not working as well as they should right now. It's a complex world. I'm sure my video is being bounced across servers all over the globe. And some of them are probably just not working quite as well as they should. I felt a little bit trapped there. Where am I checkpointed back to? I got the high score. Look at that. Look at me, I got a high score on the shooter. I shouldn't really brag though. It's probably a very easy high score. In terms of things I'd compare this to, maybe something like Sega's Sonic Boom or Scramble Spirits, which are also fairly basic shooters, although Scramble Spirits did have a little bit more going on. Your bomb attack is overpowered on this, it takes out those big enemies in one bomb. Or maybe your regular shot is underpowered, I don't know. So, games I don't mind, but I just acknowledge aren't actually doing anything special. Doesn't have any extreme slowdown. Sub-licensed to Taito by TAD and Nihon System. It must be TAD that have developed this for Nihon System, just based on this fade effect that Blood Brothers uses. Because I doubt they just gave the code to Nihon System when Nihon System decided to copy the code on the same hardware by coincidence. So yeah, I think TAD must have developed it with Nihon System at least. Let Autofire would make this much easier. Probably too easy. It's telling to lower quality, Carlo. You don't want me in low quality, that's no good. Maybe there's just too much awesome going on and I don't know. Yeah, Twin Cobra was doing this 2 years earlier, Johnny. And that's what I'm saying. Had this come out 2-3 years earlier, it might have been remembered a bit more fondly, but this just got washed away with much better games. But if you sort of take the date out of the equation, I think Sky Smasher is an enjoyable enough experience. The checkpointing makes it a little tough, but sort of expected of some of these games. Developed by TAD for a Nihon System in Taito. I don't think we have a set that says Taito. There's no dip switch for copyright display, so if it's a Taito set, I'm guessing it's not dumped. Oh, I didn't need to continue. So, what next? Okay, back to MSX, I think. Sticking with the port. Well, sticking with MSX for our ports today at the moment. This is Magical Kid Whiz. The arcade version didn't have the Magical Kid part of the title, but yes, this is an arcade port. Not an arcade game I play much of. It's an early Seibu platformer. It's in the Wiz driver that MAME calls the Wiz driver, which, oddly for an early driver, it's the same one Kung Fu Taikun runs in. Still has a whole list of video issues that need fixing. Priorities especially. So I think somebody's going to have to do a bit of research on the hardware if it's still unclear after all this time how the priority should work. But this is the port instead. Obviously it doesn't have hardware scrolling, so it's doing its best with the tile-based scroll on this port. I can set myself on fire. Look at this. I'm now fire. I enjoy being fire. I always wanted to play as a fire. Can you go indoors? Yeah, you can go indoors. Yeah. Bonus room. Treasure. Gem. I have to get out of here. Very funny. Oh great, it's a maze. Now I'm being reminded of, what is it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on the Spectrum. That had maze sections like this. Not sure why you'd do this in an arcade game, to be honest. Oh, there we go, I'm outside. Unless the arcade version doesn't do that. Again, I'm not really familiar with the arcade version. It's not a game I've really ever played much of. We'll have to have a look at it briefly afterwards. Yeah, this is a port of Wiz. It's like the last level of Shinobi. Yeah, there are quite a few games that do maze doors. It's a very cheap way of doing things. I mean, there are some games that send you right back to near the start of the game with maze doors, which is like incredibly evil, but... You know, maze doors exist in many a good popular game. Wonder Boy 3, I guess you could call, you know, the Master System one. Dragon's Trap has quite a few maze door type sections. Or at least doors where you're not quite sure where they're going to go. So yeah, an MSX port of Wiz here. Gonna not spend too long on this. So you change through your weapons using down, and then you use them, or power-ups, I'm not even sure. So that one I think just cleared the enemy. I'm guessing you are a magical wizard. Oh, that was the fire one. Anyway, yeah, let's just go to the arcade version, in fact. That was the port. But we'll have a look at the arcade version. Hello. Which I think is vertical. So, yeah. Change the view. Super Mario Brothers less levels had fake warts which sent you worlds back. It is a bit of a cheap one. Is that a... No, that's a com. I thought there was a cow in the high score table for a minute. It's a com. So this is the arcade version, which kind of has a visuals that look a bit like Ninja Kid. Those rock pillars there are very, very Ninja Kid. So it tells you what the power-ups are, if you've got them. Shoot through the wall. Oh, that wasn't very good. But this has got a bunch of protection as well. There's even a comment saying, is the protection emulation 100%, so... what? Just you trying to use a power-up you've not got Kyoui. Hold on. No, just nothing. Wait. Trying to use a power-up you've not got puts the flowers above your head. That's a really silly effect. Well, I want flowers above my head. Okay. Now I'm just on hitting. I must have run out of shots. Oh. That genie was not granting me any wishes. Maze doors plus time that equals profit. You prefer Wonder Boy and Monsterland to Dragon's Trap? I spent more time with Wonder Boy and with Dragon's Trap than Wonder Boy and Monsterland, so I think naturally I prefer Dragon's Trap. But yeah, Wonder Boy and Monsterland, a lot of people did like that one. It's just that Sega made the silly mistake of not releasing the arcade officially outside of Japan. It was left to bootleggers to make that game popular. Shooting the blue block did nothing useful. I can jump in the trees, I can jump off the screen. I will escape this world and this game. And star in a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph. I don't think Wiz is unique enough to star in such a movie, unfortunately. But yeah, I've never really spent any real time playing this arcade game. It's one of those that I just see the driver to, see screenshots of, never play. Okay, that's not a door I can go through. That's just an annoying barrier that gets in my way, I guess. Thought that was... Maybe there are no doors in the arcade version, or maybe I've just not got to them. I'm not sure. Maybe the MSX is one of those influenced by rather than port games. I mean, I find Dragon's Trap to be ridiculously difficult. I would say that much. I never complete it. I never knew what I was doing most of the time. But it's definitely a showcase of 8-bit gameplay, though. It makes the Master System look like a fantastic system. Do press down? I thought I'd killed myself, but apparently I just found a secret entrance to another level or something. I literally thought I just accidentally pressed down and died. But now I'm in an Iceland, so... Guess that's not a door. Can't kill the skeletons, at least not with the regular weapon. Go away, hand. If you fall in a pit, it takes you to this level, right. Again, that's a really unusual way of doing things. Wait, can I not jump off the top of the screen on this level? No, because it's got a ceiling. See, I know nothing about this game. It's quite confusing. Game over. So, yes, Wiz by Seibu. It's probably one of the more interesting games. It's probably one I should spend more time with. But it is one where apparently we need to really look into the driver and give it a bit of a spruce up, because there's a whole list of issues in there, which really surprises me. But yes, Wiz. We are 1 hour 43 into the stream. I think we can have a look at another port. We can have a look at an unusual port, which I mentioned earlier. Rolling down, PlayStation's quite loud. The genie takes you to the ice level 2. Is the ice level like a bad place for scoring then? You just meant to get out of there to resume where you were. Oh look. Fancy Seibu logo with sound. But yeah, it's a port of Senkyuuou, also known as Battle Balls. Now, I don't know if this has got any unique content. I've not noticed any. You've got your versus mode, you've got your endless mode, and you've got your 2-player mode. I think the character selection... Oh, wrong button. I forget it's a Japanese game. Your character selection, I think, is the same as the arcade. So... you can play as Mountain. The ice level has tougher enemies. But yeah, this is one of those match 4 puzzle games. So you get 4 pinks in a row, they clear. But yeah, not that many Seibu games got ported to the PlayStation. There was the Raiden project, Raiden DX, and this. Interestingly, the Japanese version of the Raiden project will not boot in MAME. The US one will, but the Japanese one will not. The PlayStation driver for it in MAME just hangs at the second Sony logo, which usually means it fails to load the executable. So that happens with a few of the earlier Japanese PlayStation games. I really don't know why. Especially not as the US version loads fine. I don't know if there's just something about the early SDK code that were compiled with that does something a bit odd that MAME doesn't like. But I've even tried converting a new image from the redump sets, and that fails in the same way. So it's not a case of the software list image being bad. It's something weird with those early games. But yeah, I mean, this has got the novelty that all the pieces are balls, so they will roll. It's kind of the mechanic that serves as the basis of Cave's Upoko. Although obviously in Cave's Upoko you're doing a single button launching a single piece into the playfield. But the whole way the balls fall and roll over each other is pretty much the same thing. So I don't know if Cave played this when they made Upoko and liked the ball rolling mechanic as the pieces collapse, or if they just created the same concept themselves. But yeah, if you played Upoko, you'll recognise how the pieces rolled down. And I think there must be some, maybe even if it's just a subconscious memory of playing this, because at the time this would have been a unique puzzle game mechanic. Now this was released in the arcades for Seibu's SPI system, the same one that powered Viper Phase 1, Raiden Fighters and Light Raiden Fighters. And interestingly, there was a later version it released for a commonly unemulated Seibu system, which was the Seibu CATS hardware, CATS. And that was a DVD based hardware. And it's got about 20-30 Mahjongg games on it, and a version of this, which I can't remember what it's called. Let me just scroll up. Check my resources here. Yeah, it was called Pack and Ball TV. And it's basically this game, but with probably adult video backgrounds like the Mahjongg games used. And that was released, I think, about 1999-2000. But I think only 3 of the DVDs are read for the Mahjongg games, and only 3 sets of ROMs are dumped, and those ROMs might be half size. And none of the games on the CAT system boot in MAME, and the Pack and Ball version is not dumped at all. So yeah, that's one of those systems where hopefully one day we'll see more progress on it. I guess they're just quite uncommon, so not many people have them, not many people have dumped them. It is another 386 based platform, much like SPI. I might show you what happens if you try and boot one of the games in MAME, but it's not very interesting. But yeah, people who say that MAME focuses only on Mahjongg games, that's kind of one of the counter arguments, the fact that like 2030 and potentially undumped that have never been emulated properly. But yeah, so this is a reasonably good port to the PlayStation. It seems to have all the arcade content. Plays fine, sounds good, it's responsive. If you had a PlayStation, you wanted a puzzle game, yeah, I think you could do much worse than Battle Balls. I do like this one, the arcade original is one of those puzzle games I will go back to and play every now and again. It's a little simple compared to some others. It's still fun. And like I said, it always reminds me of Yokubou, just because of the whole ball mechanic. And anything that reminds me of Yokubou is a win for me. There needs to be a main fork that focus on mature.ini. All those mature games I emulated back in the day. I can't really stream. It is such a shame. Somebody was even asking the other day if it's MAME software list is actually eligible to put mature games in, or if we have to exclude them like some other projects. And it makes me wonder, have they actually ever followed MAME? Hey, More Fruit. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, there's I don't like it when projects specifically exclude mature games, because it's like saying, well, because this had an adult picture in it, this game doesn't count and deserves to be lost to time. And there's quite a few projects that still do that. So I guess, yeah, that's probably why somebody was asking about, are they eligible for the software lists. But it's a shame that, you know, that opinion is still out there. But then again, you've got eBay banning the sale of adult games, so I guess it's to be expected. But yeah, the Seibu Kaihatsu system. Let's just load up one of the games on it. So this is one of the Mahjongg games. This is not playable. The DVD is not emulated. So it's the 386. It's got a Yamaha chip. Doesn't work. Writes some PCM apparently. And then tells me doesn't find the touch panel, doesn't find the DVD. Displays the screen. I can press A, I think it's boot in non-touch mode. Just the same. Touch panel not found, DVD not found. Then gives this error message. I can service mode it. I can look at the game settings. Change the difficulty. Do that, do that, do that. Do whatever that is. End that. Do that. Have a look at the I/O test. Get out of the I/O test. Look at the E-test. That's a clock of some sort. That's something else. I don't know. That's probably some DVD controls or something. I really don't know. Don't you know how to get out of this menu? Oh, there we go. A plus start. And you get the idea. They don't do much. You can't boot them. You can't get into any kind of gameplay. There's no DVD emulation. Maybe the one that's based on Senkyuuou would boot without the DVD because it's maybe less essential than the Mahjongg games. But yeah, based on the driver, say Pack and Ball TV, I'd like to see a proper dump of that, but we don't have one. Based on the driver, there are at least 28 Mahjongg games. 3 of them have dumped DVDs. And yeah, I don't know. Apparently the graphics ROMs are the same on most of them as well, so it would just be the DVD backgrounds that differed. B said adult seem yes or no. Anyway, you can't get them to go into gameplay, best I know, so that's all you can see for those. But yeah, one day there are probably like 28 Mahjongg games there to get dumped and emulated. It's a bit like the Nichi Butsu video CD or video DVD ones. They're not properly emulated yet. Or the Nichi Butsu VHS ones, where nobody's dumped the VHSs. Because dumping VHSs is a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, I mean, Seibu did do some Mahjongg games. I'm not going to play them. But we can have a look at the track mode. Say we can load up Ijan Sakura. This is on not an actual SPI board, but a similar board using the 386. But I'm not even going to even attempt to play these. But there you go, 1999 Seibu. Well, apparently people like undressing these women. So they play Mahjongg, but we won't be doing that. And I don't know how to play Mahjongg, so, you know, they're well-presented Mahjongg games. But I don't know how to play them. I'm not going to try and play them. So, there you go. Now, it was mentioned that Seibu did some work for Sigma. I think this is a Mahjong game. It's a bet one, so it's an actual gambling game, this one. But this one runs on Seibu hardware too. Seibu aren't credited, but this one is, say, on Seibu hardware. And they say this is Sengoku Mahjong. A much older game, more bare bones presentation. But yeah, no copyright on the title screen, interestingly. There you go, it's this, you know, what, Chinese dynasty type thing. Yes, those 16-year-old women, because that's what Japan's like, Bob. Which is, again, probably why some of those games didn't really become popular outside of Japan. I don't even know if those are stripped games, to be honest. I've never actually tried playing them. But it's quite typical for the Japanese games to be a bit like that. But yeah, you've got all your backstory here. Look at this, look. And it's a Mahjong game with very basic graphics, which we can speed through the attract mode of. I doubt this one's got any adult content, because it's very serious. It said 1991 Sigma there. But yeah, it's on Seibu type hardware. An interesting game which uses the Seibu sound system, but is otherwise not Seibu hardware, is this version of Othello by Success, Kyoui no Othello. Now this uses kind of a video blitter graphic chip. It's nothing like Seibu hardware. It uses the same hardware as some other games in the same driver, but the interesting thing about the Success game here is that it uses the Seibu sound system. I don't know why. None of the other games in the driver do. And obviously there's some timing issues. I'm sure that title screen should stay up for longer. But, yeah. This one, for some reason, has the Seibu sound system. Now, I don't know how to play Othello, really. Other than, you know, you flip the tiles. I have no strategy, though. So, I tend to lose whenever I play this game. Because I really don't know the best way to play it. Oh, Warring States Era Japan, was it? Sorry, I'm getting my oldie world lore and everything else confused. Unfortunately, I did think it looked more Japan, but history in that sense is not my strongest subject. But yeah, it's Othello. It uses Seibu sound hardware. I'm going to lose because I really don't know how to play this game other than, you know, let's click in random places and turn some tiles over and click the wrong places and make poor decisions. There we go. I lost quite badly. The Sengoku period, I'd say I don't really know much about the whole Japanese history, but it makes sense in the sense that the Neo Geo games are the same period, aren't they, the Sengoku games? Strategies always go for the corners. You still got off there too. But yeah, no point in showing much more of that. It runs on non-Seibu hardware, but has the Seibu sound system. If we're going to continue along the lines of odd places we found Seibu hardware... okay, we'll do that. This was recently dumped. Super Mario World Mario Undokai doesn't officially work yet. This is, I think, a ticket game, which I did a video of. But yeah, this board uses Seibu custom chips. I don't know why, it's the strangest place I've seen Seibu custom chips used. But yeah, this board is all Seibu video chips. Now, you can kind of play it. I don't know if Seibu had any hand in developing this. I kind of doubt it. But it does use Seibu type hardware. Doesn't matter how hard you hammer, I think it's predetermined. As long as you hammer fast enough, you either win or you lose. It's not a real proper game. It is Mario's Sports Day. And yeah, for some reason this is on a Seibu type board. As is the other game in the driver, but that one doesn't boot without a different hack. Alright, night night Evie, take care. I'll touch you in the morning then, if you're not awake when I finished. Chris Pratt is Mario. I think I'm missing a button. There we go. "78 meters. Oh, another 10. "51 meters. Night night. Anyway, do we need to see more Mario? Maybe not. Climb, Mario, climb. Ow. 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 I don't know if you can do anything about that. Climb to the princess. But yes. There we go. Did I finish in a good place? I finished first. Now, I think after this we should probably get back to proper games. Now it's going to give me a card or a ticket and it's going to complain that it can't print it out. Never mind. That is why it's still marked as not working, because the card printout thing is not simulated sufficiently for it to work. Right. 2 hours into the stream. And maybe we should play... Oh, I should change the view first though. A bit of Raiden 2. Can you hook a PC printer? Most of them are just ticket dispensers, so it wouldn't actually be printing anything, Johnny. Yes, I think that is there with the CDI games in terms of Mario games that would never get a re-release. And Mario Roulette and all those ones are 09. So, Raiden 2. I mean, the original Raiden was a great game that, you know, set standards for every shooter which took them after it. But Raiden 2 refines everything about it, really. So, this is just a far better game. It's got the extra power-ups, so it's got the purple laser power-up. It's got far more going on visually, say all the debris. It's not quite got as good music. I think I said that last time I played it. The music is a little bit of a step down, which I think is why Raiden DX gives you back the original Raiden 2 music, or a remix version of it, for one of the modes. But yeah, this is a lovely game. And you can bomb a lot of the scenery too. Look at all the destruction just caused by the bomb there. The trees are now on fire. And it's not just a plain background. I mean, sometimes I say with shooters, they could have just used a laser disc and done a background and it wouldn't have made any difference because there's no interaction. Here, you know, there's all sorts going on with the backgrounds. They're alive. There's sprites moving in and out of things, coming out from under huts, houses. The backgrounds play a big role in it. Really don't go that close to enemies then. Play poor. It's a scary copy protection game. Now what is interesting also is that there was a bug report opened on MAME testers about this, saying that the bonus lives don't work properly, and I did wonder if that was a protection glitch, but based on code analysis, I think the bonus life function in the game is just broken. It does just appear to be reading from completely the wrong place. So my gameplay is awful. This is a concentration thing, unfortunately. I can usually clear the first stage without dying. Here we go, purple laser. Now, if I hadn't gone with the background I did for the stream here, my artwork, I probably would have tried to do purple lasers everywhere. But you know, that was taking a long time, so I just did screenshots and did a few effects on them. But purple bendy lasers. I love purple bendy lasers. So did everybody else, I think. Yeah, that was is an interesting copy protection. When you're chasing down things and you think it might be protection, it just turns out to be plain old broken code. Something that wasn't quite coded properly. Toki does it too, actually, similar. One of the US sets of Toki reads the high score from the wrong address. So the high score in the demo mode always says 000 because it's just reading the wrong address. It's a game bug. Toki is one we should look at in a bit, actually. Yeah, this is the worst I've ever played this game. I shouldn't even continue now. I should just start the game again and pretend this part didn't happen. Now you will notice the little gems on the bosses. They're the same as on the title, some of the title screen animations. They do appear later in the game when you're on sort of the alien type landscape. So it's nice little touches like that on the art as well. Tie everything together. Purple laser is overpowered. I think that's why everybody loves it though, Aussie guy. Now imagine if the enemies in Daifukatsu had purple lasers instead of laser wheels. Purple homing lasers. That'd be even worse. You wouldn't stand a chance. You do have your different bomb types too, which are coloured differently, so if I've got a yellow bomb at the end of the list, it'll do that one rather than the red bomb. It's that one. You can't choose, it's entirely based on the order you pick things up and what's in your list down the bottom, but again, a nice little touch, different types of bomb. Look at all the nice debris flying around though, which it's not making it more difficult, that's just me being terrible. Casually bombing things. You didn't need those buildings anyway, but even on this level you see the buildings are falling apart when I bomb them. Yeah, I'm not doing well. Full power! And here we have our favourite thing in the whole world, which I will not bomb. Oops, I will just explode over. We have some cows. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to don't concentrate at all. I give up. Now, okay, so Raiden 2. I should look at the easy set. Yeah. Now, this so-called easy set in MAME, I don't think it's really intended to be an easier set. There's quite a few versions of it, but I think this is just the earlier release of the game, with significantly different enemy. What am I doing? Don't want to just screen brightness. With significantly different enemy patterns in the first level. I purposely didn't bomb the cows, Bob. But yeah, this version is rather different. And I think it must have been another one of those cases where, based on player feedback, they just readjusted everything, changed it. Because it's the first stage here is it's got some significant changes. See, these enemies are nowhere on the first stage in the other sets. Maybe they thought they were putting those in too early, but then again, people said this is easier, so they clearly thought those enemies were too difficult to have in the first stage. But maybe difficulty is a subjective thing, and they thought they were too difficult or too easy. I don't know. You can see it's quite a different first stage. That changed right at the last minute. I thought that was purple when I picked it up. Gone is my purple laser. Yeah, it's just a lovely game, this. It's one I'll happily play. Again, were they in the other set? I can't remember now. Bosses are the same, obviously. It's not a major change, but it's enough for people to have noted it back in the day. And there's a difference on the high score table, which is how people could tell the difference between the versions. I think the high score background in this version is plain, while in the other version's got a picture or something like that. But you can tell if you've got an easy version or a regular version, aside from the enemy patterns, just by looking at the high score table. Yeah, the attention to detail, that's what we're saying with Viper Phase 1. There's such an attention to detail on the sprite work and the backgrounds and everything else. It just makes the whole thing feel alive. Look at the way the buildings are burning. It's the debris, the animation, the smoothness with which that turret there rotates. And again, like Viper Phase 1, the way the enemy, the thing, everything sets gradually on fire, so you can tell how damaged something is without it resorting to cheap flashy effects or a health bar. You can tell you're damaging something. You see the way the gem from the middle there flew off up the screen, because that comes into play later, as I mentioned. That little attention to detail, everything ties together. The launch sequences, the fact there's a launch sequence later on in the game when you go into space, there's so much in the way of detail here, which is really what makes, especially Raiden 2, stand out. And it still holds up fantastically well. It's the smoke on the house there. It's also not unfair. It's also a very playable game. If you die, it's your fault. I mean, when I was concentrating more the second time around, I did better on the first level. When I was trying to talk to everybody, I did quite badly. It's always fair, though. Pardon me. And the music is good. It's not quite Raiden 1 level, Raiden 1 iconic music, but it's still a good tune. So just scroll through this. Yeah, the easy version has that black background on the high score table like that, whereas the other version has a proper background. It's just an earlier version of the game, really. It's not specifically easier, it's just earlier, I would say, but we call it easier in MAME because that's kind of how the community refers to it, and that's fair enough. That is fair enough. I had something in mind. that I've forgotten. Okay, yeah, let's have a look at that. Another game by Success is D-Cono. And this runs on the same hardware as the first Gundam game we looked at, which again is a Seibu board. Kind of similar to the Blood Brothers hardware, which is a TAD game. Hey Ali Stam, it's alright, we've still got about 45 minutes of the stream left. We've covered some of the Seibu classics and some ports already, but it's always good to see you. What if you insert a PlayStation 2 game inside those Mahjongg DVD games? I imagine they don't work properly, Cow. I don't think you get to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas the Mahjongg. A bit loud. It's a fancy turret shooter game. You know, Missile Commandy, Colony, 9E, Turret Towery. Blast what's in the sky while rotating your turret around. Damage is at 5%. Oh, you can hold it, can you? Yeah, don't let things hit the buildings, because that's bad. You can shoot the bullets to stop that happening. Damage is 29%. This city is not faring too well. Now there is a radar that I should probably be paying far more attention to than I am. Yeah, so it's not developed by Seibu as far as I know, but it is on Seibu hardware, so it counts for this stream. I think this is one that doesn't get played much as well. It tends to be overlooked. Maybe because you do have to look at the radar a bit too much, and the radar doesn't actually tell you where the shots are, and the shots are what are doing damage to the buildings. So the radar's not actually that helpful if you're trying to defend the city. Of course, maybe we just want to see the city blown up. Now, there are quite a lot of games that try and do this type of thing. There's even some on Galaxian type hardware. I think it's called Conquest or something. You want to buy one just to screw the DVD drive. I imagine a lot of the DVD drives are kind of dead already. They might even detect the discs by trying to change tracks or something. I don't know. It knew there was no DVD drive connected, at least. Boss fight. Or maybe I should say mothership fight. It's not the most bossy of bosses. No, it is. Looks like Sunsoft's Warp 1, but a bit more advanced. And yeah, Yamato. So yeah, I'm reminded of that later Turret Tower game. Also a little bit of Colony 7 and Missile Command and things like that. Yeah, it's a crosshair shooter where you're obviously controlling some sort of turret in a city and shooting things to, you know, before they destroy the city. Operation 1 accomplished. I get some points. I don't know if the notes are meant to hang on the music like that, or if it's meant to stop and restart the sound system. No, it looks even more like the Yamato. You have a fleet of ships. Well, I don't think the gameplay is going to change much, just these enemies are more annoying when they jump around. That's you've sunk my submarine / battleship. And that one. It's nice they've got little animations of them sinking. Not that they're meant to sink. It's kind of a bad thing. Needs a light gun. Yeah, or analog controls rather than just joystick. A trackball would help. Unless there is a trackball version somewhere out there, but I doubt it. So it's by success. I don't think they were going to push things too much with their control schemes. Uh-oh. Damage is quite high. I think it's just that single ship left. Yeah, it will because that's the blue one on the radar. Protect this ship at all costs. Uh-oh. That was not all costs. Konami's unreleased Type 104. I don't think we've seen anything about that one, Aussie guy. What does this continue screen have to do with the game? It is a candle burning on top of a skull. That looks more like it should be in a Castlevania game or something. But never mind. Yeah, this is the driver that says, coin inputs are handled by the sound CPU, so they don't work with sound disabled. Use the surface switch instead. That comment must be from 20 years ago. We've looked at those. Shall we pull out the Raiden Fighters? I think we will. Are we going a little bit Independence Day there, Bob? A little bit Independence Day. So we've gone for Raiden Fighters 2 for no other reason than I decided to type 2. It's got a bit of a story. And yes, this is Operation Helldive. Nice attract intro here. I've always liked this one. Probably uses quite a bit of the ROM capacity for all the animations on the intro, but it was worth it. And again, say the same for Raiden 2. That attract intro uses quite a lot of the... Oops, sorry, banging stuff. No. Anyway. So, Operation Helldive. This is the SPI hardware version, which is the one you want to be playing. These are the ships you have from the start, without any special unlocks. Oh look, this one's got moving that goes beyond the bar. It's going to be fast then. Yeah, I don't care. It zips around the screen. If anything, it's too fast, but... Isn't this the Viper Phase 1 ship, isn't it? Yeah. The green napalm attack. The N power up in Viper Phase 1. The ship's not this fast in Viper Phase 1 though. But they did make little guest appearances. Quick shot, quick shot, quick shot. Not the joysticks though. I didn't have a quick shot joystick. It is the Viper Phase 1 ship, yes. So, you know, Seibu clearly didn't write the game off as a complete failure to forget about and never talk about again. They did sort of reference it here. Lets you play as the ship with super speed. Now these games are full of little secrets, which is why things are popping up at the top of the screen. Destroyed at a time, quick shot. I don't know them all, but don't go there though. Time we are on almost 2.5 hours. That's a good pace to be at, I think. We'll be doing a bit of Dynamite Duke or the double Dynamites in a bit, I think, because I did put that on the stream preview range. Not sure which one. Actually, I'll probably show the currently not working port of that, which, who knows, might have been fixed in the time I've been doing this stream. Yeah, Michael's Seibu's mascot is a secret playable character. Yeah, I don't remember how to unlock them, but yeah, I have played as them before. There might be I think, aren't they unlocked from the start in one of the terrible hardware sets? Ones where they've degraded the sound system to the point where you don't really want to play them. Snowy level. I'm sure that's the kind of turret I pictured myself to be in when I was playing D-Cono. Above a city, defending the city. Or something like that. In this case though, you know, I'm taking down the turret rather than the city, because that's the sensible thing to do in such a situation. If only those aliens had known. Yeah. Obviously, quite similar to Viper Phase 1. I think there's a little less attention to detail in this though. You know, Viper Phase 1 just had a lot more little touches. And this is good, it's still got explosions everywhere. The same explosion graphics as Viper Phase 1. But I think in terms of the backgrounds and things that are going on in the backgrounds, it's a little less here. There are still some nice effects, but somehow I prefer the attention to detail in Viper Phase 1. We will continue. That was stupid. They should build passenger trains that take up 2 lines like this. Extra wide trains. I mean, our rail network wouldn't support them, but we should still build them. The music fits the train theme perfectly here. It's got a chugga bit to it. Never been the biggest fan of the music in these, but in this case, yeah, it does fit this stage. What got me? Ah, Michaelis is from Wiz. Don't think we saw them when I played Wiz, did we? I didn't do very well on Wiz, because I didn't know what I was doing. Although you could easily say I don't know what I'm doing here, because I keep dying. Yeah, they say that all these Raiden Fighters games, Raiden Fighters, have that sort of techno-y, hardcore beat style, and in some stages it works, but when it's the whole game, it's maybe a little much. I don't know. I definitely prefer the music that Raiden 2 and Raiden DX, Raiden 2, Raiden DX had, and obviously the original. I guess they wanted something more intense, and it does that. It ups the intensity. So I like that. It's almost industrial style music in Toaplan's Teki Paki. It's one of my favourite soundtracks. But I think it works for that puzzle game. And again, it's got that inside a machine feel to it. I'm just not so convinced it works on all the stages here. I thought taking out a train would take so long. Appeared in the item selection before coining up. Just shy of 1cc, yeah. I might roll the credit counter if we're counting in 8-bit. Or even 16-bit. Yeah, I think you get the idea. It's a shooter, it's a well-known shooter. It's got all your usual shooter themes, and it's a pretty good one, as you'd expect from Seibu. Because they were known for their good shooters. Okay, let's have a look at one that doesn't work. Because this isn't all about showing things that work fine. Now, this is an X68K port of a Seibu game. And I was testing it out in preparation for the stream. Because there's been a lot of improvements to the Sharp X68K emulation in MAME over the last couple of years. So I thought maybe this one will have improved. It's Dynamite Duke for the X68K. Now we can insert a coin and we can start the game. It's looking alright so far. But the issue comes when we get in-game, which we will do shortly. Probably loading something right now. You see the problem? The backgrounds, they are missing. Just turn the volume down like that, but not that far. Why is it white? That's name is being silly. Now, I did mention this before the stream, and Crazy C, Carl, said it appears to be expecting something different from the GVRAM high-speed clear. I think MAME clears the whole of the GVRAM when that's activated, and it ends up wiping out the background data that it's put in RAM. So it copies the background data, then it wipes it out. Now that to me suggests that, you know, he has been looking at this. So in the 2.5 hours since I started the stream, it's entirely possible he has found a fix and checked in a fix for this. But at the time of, you know, starting and testing for the stream, yeah, the backgrounds are missing. Although now we have a bit of background over here, see, so it's not cleared out this bit of background. But yeah, some of the background is missing. It manages to wipe out the first part of each stage or something like that. So this is one to maybe to come back to later. Though now we seem to have no way to progress. I don't know. Let's see. Oh no. Yes, maybe, possibly. I don't know. So you see, this part of the stage works. This part does have a background. But it's probably erased some game data that it shouldn't have erased, so there are a few issues here. There should be a kick button too, I don't know what it is. Again, it seems to be slightly faulty in how it runs. But you get the idea. No fix yet, Bob. Crazy C, yeah, thank you for dropping in. You're just not sure how to fix it yet. So it is interesting that the backgrounds do appear a little bit into the level, but maybe some of the level enemy data gets erased too. I don't know, because it didn't seem to be spawning enemies when it should have been then, but I really don't know. Hopefully you can find a fix. But we'll play the arcade version instead. Yeah, maybe it's related to the Alien Storm bootleg with the Dark Void missing backgrounds. That's the Alien Storm was broken like the bootleg was broken like that in MAME for a long time, but that was just because the tile map chips for the bootlegs weren't emulated. So the arcade version, you can punch and kick. Yeah, we know, we've seen. Now this did have a sequel, the Double Dynamites, which added a 2-player mode, which is kind of a bit like, you know, your Championship Edition to your Street Fighter 2. Or Warrior, because it really changes how the game plays, and that's, you know, that's why they really considered it almost a new game. It's got the same basic gameplay and stages, but 2-player mode in this is a big change. But again, it's a crosshair shooter. We've seen quite a few of these. This is sort of halfway between, say, Dead Angle and Cabal. This time we've got a sort of semi-outline. Your character's filled in parts, but is an outline in other parts. But it's also a character you control and has a clear hitbox. It's got scrolling like, you know, Nam and that lot. Again, it's really interesting to see yet another crosshair shooter type game on Seibu type hardware. There is a disproportionately high number of them on Seibu's hardware. Obviously SNK did similar things with the Super Spy and ADK's the Cross Swords. Yeah, it's also got hand-to-hand combat. Kick me in the kick me where it hurts. Oh, you've got a cheaty hand. But you see, the boss does seem a bit more aggressive here, although he does still stand there a little bit. So maybe the X68K version is just meant to be a bit easier as well. I don't. Yeah, it's a bit hand-to-hand combat. So say it's a bit like SNK's The Super Spy, but with more guns. It's a mix of lots of things, from things that came after it, obviously influenced by it, and I think this got a Mega Drive port from memory. I don't think I played the Mega Drive port then. Look, Harry's Hamburgers. Harry was clearly playing Raiden earlier and did use the bomb. Yeah, it's a slightly dull game. It's not bad, but I can see why they added a 2-player option. So before we actually go any further, I'm going to quit after this one. I'm not going to play it as a 2-player game, but I will play the rest of the game on the Double Dynamite set. So it clearly advertises on the title screen, simultaneous 2 players game. And obviously it's showing in the track there are now 2 players. They wanted to make that very clear that this is now a 2-player game. They have revisited it, updated it, and created a 2-player experience out of the game rather than a single player. Other than that, yeah, it's the same game. You can have a second player now. And this type of game you do want to play it with a friend, really, don't you? It's peak 80s despite only just still being in the 80s. It's got a very action movie feel to it, yeah. Full auto will do. Full auto is complete auto fire, not even just... you don't even have to hold the button, it's literally just auto. Now you don't have a roll button, which is kind of off-putting if you're used to playing this game with a roll button to dodge things. You can't, you know, this genre with a roll button. It's not like Cabal where you can roll out of the way of the enemy shots. You have to move out of the way when you're not firing. I think this version seems to me to maybe to increase the pace a little bit. If you're ducking, you move faster though. That is what. So that's kind of your equivalent. You can duck and move, which is a bit faster. Well, look, we've even got 2 enemies here now because you know it's designed for having 2 players, so they've put an extra boss here. And that boss doesn't seem to care about me at the moment, probably because it's only single player mode. But now that boss will jump forward, so an extra boss to defeat. Who is now dead. So that second boss wasn't there in the regular version. Only this sort of semi-sequel. But you see, it's the same levels. We're back to Harry's Hamburgers restaurant. We'll have the video rental in just a second, I'm sure. Let's see. Audio, video rental, there you go. So same game, just more enemies to, you know, add a bit of extra difficulty because it's got a second player. And to me it feels slightly faster paced, but that might just be my imagination. But it's a refined, updated, improved version of the game. Got the big tank there that was in the first level. Yep. Got no special attacks left. Again, I think this, the alternate way they could have done a 2-player option in this is surely to let one player control the character and the other player control the gun, but they didn't go for that. So that would have been an alternate way of doing it, I think, which may be quite interesting. Give an actual light gun for the gun, maybe. Again, it's another that would benefit from trackball. It doesn't have trackball support in the game. It's time to chew gun, yes. You're getting some Duke Nukem vibes from this. Duke Nukem, the arcade shooter. Oh look. And into this, say, much like Super Spy, we have an into the screen section. Going down the hallway. Or maybe like Contra, I don't know. What was the first game to do that? It's a sort of between scenes thing. Again, the previous boss is now the second boss in this stage. You get the idea. The Double Dynamites. It's an alright game for what it is. Not really a genre I enjoy too much, but I think if you did, you'd probably quite like that one. I'm not going to play Legionnaire by Tad. We played it on a previous stream. People quite liked it, but it's not what I want to play today. I'm going to play Dark Mist briefly. The enemies dying sound like a dog barking, or seals. They do a little, don't they? So Dark Mist. Now this is credited to Taito, but it was, as far as I know, developed by Seibu. It's on Seibu Typo. They like that lightning effect. But this in some ways feels a little bit like Wiz 2 with the weapons in the list and things like that. Obviously the gameplay is not similar to Wiz in how it plays. It feels like there was some similar ideas. You have to attack things to pick them up. Yeah, I think you said that before, Bob. It's from the John Carpenter movie They Live, which is where Duke Nukem copied it from. But I'll always associate it with Duke Nukem. But yeah, I think you did share that fact before, and I just couldn't remember what you said before. Weapon 2. I've got a silver sword now. It's also a little bit like the UPL game Van Dyke. That's a fantasy scrolling short-range attacks. Although Van Dyke is a lot more basic. Use magic. Don't do that. Right, end attack. No, I don't watch that many movies. It's not something I ever really find time for. Don't know why. It's just not really my thing, I guess. I probably should watch some more. I've just always preferred, you know, my entertainment to be a bit more interactive. Even with books as a kid, I always wanted the, you know, tell your own adventure ones where it was more than just reading a book. But, that's just me, I guess. Died. A little bit Gauntlet-like here with the indoor maze, but doesn't play much like Gauntlet. Now I'm just being attacked by a flying sword. One-way doors. They make sense. Can't get to those. Not doing especially well. Game over. It's a very long name. Unhappy faces. And umbrellas. Fortunately, I don't know if you have to continue. Oh, you can continue. Okay. Press start for continue. Yeah, Seibu's logo is in the game data, you are correct. Much like Moustache Boy, the Seibu logo is in there even though it's not on screen. Don't think I can do anything with this yet. Oh, I can. I don't even know what I'm doing, unfortunately, is the main problem. I'm just going through a castle or a dungeon or something. Oh, boss? Oh. That wasn't a very good boss. I mean, sometimes even with somebody else, I'll sit down and watch some and enjoy them, but in my own time, I don't really go out my way to watch a movie. Oh, I thought I defeated Death, but Death defeated me. Didn't even get a high score this time. At least it doesn't send you too far back. Yeah, it's a scrolling game, and if you don't... That was a quick game over. you can crush yourself and kill the Grim Reaper with the magic. I I just realised how quickly getting squashed. Getting squashed by the scrolling scenery is a single hit game over, basically. That's quite cheap. Could go in. There we go. The Grim Reaper is dead. Yeah, I mean, I watched things like Breaking Bad and enjoyed those, and Better Call Saul. Really got into those TV series. But again, I don't know. I think is that the correct blending effect here? I'm not sure. I think I enjoyed those. It feels more like an investment of time rather than watch something for 2 hours and forget about it, and I don't know. I think movies are too temporary for me as well. On the cutting floor page from Moustache Boy, there's some code to enable the Seibu and Taito copyrights. Yeah. That's not how it's supposed to... Does it always look like that, or is this a regression? I'm not sure. I don't know. My name is in this driver, but I can't really remember what I did for it. But yeah, that doesn't look quite right to me. Avoid these things. I don't think it's going to be real blending. My best guess is it's going to be one of those sprite under the tile map masking out the sprite effects. And if it's that, maybe it's never been emulated properly. It probably requires these sprites drawn in a different way. That would be my guess. So that's what it looked like. It looked like it's trying to draw a mask that you never see rather than an actual blending effect. So that is one I might have to have a little look at. Because, yeah, it looks like, say, I've seen that effect in many games. And basically the sprite it was drawing there would cut a hole in the sprite by having a lower priority than the tile map, but a higher priority than the sprite, based on sprite list order. Yeah, it looks like a sprite mask. Probably really easy to implement, actually. But it does look like it's missing. Right, what we got going on? Let's go back to early Seibu. This one's horizontal. Yeah, this one's horizontal. Right, this one is another where I wonder if the parent set is a bad dump. So, play it briefly. Note the noise that's constantly playing. There is a noise constantly playing, a humming noise. It's really annoying. Now, that only happens in the parent set. And apparently the only differences in the audio CPU are to do with the noise channel. So either the hardware doesn't output the noise channel, or the code is broken, maybe due to bit rot or bad dump. So we'll play the clone, which was the Cinematronics licensed version, which doesn't have ugly noise playing all the time. So again, this is one of the very early Seibu games when they still were identifying as Seibu Denshi. And you have to destroy the links that form the structure in the background. So it's a little bit Xevious-y, but with a purpose to it. A little bit Dig Dug 2-y as well, the way that the background falls away when you destroy parts of it. Yeah, say it just enables the noise channel and doesn't turn it off. I mean, I guess it could be some weird copy protection if they just thought the bootleggers are going to hook up all the channels. Well, I don't know if it needs the noise channel for anything else. If it does, then obviously you can't just pretend the noise channel doesn't exist. Now you can't bomb until you get the power that lets you bomb, so yeah, there's that. But the power is pretty easy to come by. Though I should pay more attention to what I'm doing, not trying to bomb everything. As you can see, there are some Seibu games, like Dark Mist there, that need attention. I say the Wiz driver is absolutely full of video to-do list 2 and things that need checking. We saw graphic bugs on Kung Fu Taikun when I played that last time. Aside from the the reset on the English clone set, which I say I think might be a bad dump issue unless there is a protection I missed. But yeah, if you're playing this game though, make sure to play the clone set because it doesn't have that annoying white noise, which again could be a bad dump. I think this game's quite rare, so nobody has verified the ROMs on a second copy of the non-licensed version. But it's interesting to see an early shooter with a bit of an objective. In this case, destroy what's in the background so it collapses. But I do feel a little bit sorry for the people living below. Yeah, it's a nice early game. Simple, but does what it does well. I think we're shooting. Lost my power now. So yeah, if your extra power thing lets you have the bomb gets hit, you lose that. I'm meant to be shooting those. I think I'm meant to be shooting the bits that flash. Or those. That'll do. Yeah, things you can blow up tend to be marked by the fact that they flash, which makes them quite easy to see. So... Got that one? What's it do? I feel like I missed something here. Oh, there we go. Now your ship is very slow, which does make it quite challenging. There we go. Again, you've got to bomb these bits of the thing. They're animated. Music is still kind of random. Wouldn't really call it proper music. But yeah, it's a cool little game. And then we're back to sort of bombing this thing. So I think it probably gets quite repetitive quite quickly. But it ramps up the difficulty. And again, this is what, 83? So it's pretty early. Shot the thing I needed. I'm not going to get that one. Is that 004 because it's stage 4, or did it always say 004? Game over. You just mute it. Is it not used for anything else? If it's not used for anything else, maybe it was just never rooted on the PCB. That's entirely possible. Say it might be a really 84 apparently. So I thought it was 83, but yeah, maybe it's just a really early copy protection. But I can't help but think maybe it's just bit rot or something like that. But somebody with a PCB would have to confirm that the ROMs match the parent set and there's no white noise on the PCB. But yeah, it's a fun little early game from when Seibu still identified as Seibu Denshi. We'll have a look at the other early one, which is Stinger. And this one is vertical. One horizontal, one vertical. I always get mixed up which one is which. This is the vertical one. The graphics are not dumped in air raid, I'm afraid, Cow. That is one of the most difficult tasks facing us, because it's not just the graphics, it's the colour lookup tables in the modules too, and the tile map layouts in the modules too, and I think the modules basically act like black boxes, so you might be able to get massive, basically huge tile map bitmaps out of them with everything pre-processed but not the original ROM data. I'm not sure. So this one, I don't remember ever playing this, so this might be, unless I played it, maybe I played it on stream and forgot about it, I don't know. Don't suck me in. I think that was a Space Hoover. Again, this is one of those where there's a note in the drive. It's the Wiz drive. There's a note about there being a priority bug with that Hoover thing and some of the enemies compared to the PCB. Released in North America by Ventureline. Yeah, this was one of Seibu's first credited arcade games, I believe. Maybe the first one. Now we get to do a little bombing run. So a little bit of a variety, you see. We can fly, or we can do the bombing run down here on the ground. The controls are a little bit awkward. Do I have to catch the robot? Yeah, look. Get some sort of bonus from that, but I'm not sure what. Horizontal shooter on a vertical screen. That always seems as odd as vertical shooters on horizontal screens to me, but it's just as common. Although in this case maybe it makes sense because you have the whole flying and ground thing, so you do want that vertical space. So yeah, I can maybe see why they went with that design here. Ooh, we are over 3 hours now though, unfortunately, so I think this one may be the last game of the stream. I hope that's okay with everybody. I got extra life at 20,000. Yeah, it is a little wimpy bomb. I'm just going to pretend the bomb is really heavy so we can't throw it very that far. Even though we've obviously got an unlimited supply loaded onto the ship, it's too heavy to throw. The explosion effect is a little annoying on this one actually, it's a bit all the time. It's like having a white noise channel without having a white noise channel enabled all the time. Well, it is the white noise channel, what I'm saying. It's like having it enabled all the time, even if it's not. I died. Unfortunately, that landing mechanic only gets used now and again. But it does give it a little bit of a unique twist. Oops. Nice fight. You are the best one, Stinger. AB. Player 1, game over. But there you go, 83 Seibu Denshi. And yeah, they hadn't really done much else at this time, at least not with the Seibu name, but they would go on to make many famous shooters, some of which we've already looked at. This was released, no, Scion was released in Japan by Sigma for Seibu. Yeah, much smaller company at the start. So let me just have a quick look over my list. I think I've covered everything I need to cover, or felt was important to cover. So we didn't play the arcade Kung Fu Taikun this time. That's okay. We didn't play Empire City, unfortunately. We didn't look at the Seibu sound system being used in the NMK bootlegs, but I have looked at that before. We looked at the Nintendo game. We've not looked at Blood Brothers, but we did look at Cabal. We looked at some of the Mahjongg games. Didn't get to look at Godzilla. We looked at that. We've not looked at Shot Rider. I played that before. Knuckle Joe, which I've showed the fix off before. Yeah, I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job of covering the major talking points of Seibu here. We looked at some ports. We looked at some arcade games. So I am going to end the stream there. So again, thank you to everybody who's been here chatting away. Always a wonderful community with people talking and joining in and throwing facts along. Say again, Aussie guy with plenty of facts. Bob with a few facts this time too, I believe, and people commenting on the games, finding a few bugs. Kale said that maybe tried to fix Dark Mist at one time, but made it worse, broke some of the scene. So there might be some registers controlling the priorities to make it a bit trickier than it should. Crossover incorporated, stay safe. Stay safe. There's the same to you too. But yeah, it's been good. Crazy Carl acknowledging the Dynamite Duke. Just not sure how to fix it yet. The X68K bug. So hopefully that's one. If that gets fixed, I'll cover that in a future stream. We are due a look at fixes in mainstream. So there'll be a new release tomorrow, I think, tomorrow night. And I don't know what I'm streaming tomorrow night. I could still do a Sony stream. There aren't many Sony games, so that might be a mini stream. But yeah. Anyway, thank you to everybody. We're not doing another Namco stream just yet, Cam. We might do one another time. But thank you, everybody. Take care. Good night. I've stayed on the screen. I've not even gone to my big video screen. So hello and goodbye and take care. And let's press the outro button over here. And now the stream is over. So thank you, everybody, again. It's been wonderful. And I'll see you on the next one, hopefully.